Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Roger Lee Podcast. We are at episode number 5 now, and I have a very special guest. You probably have seen her on my YouTube lives. But it was a while ago, and I've always wanted to, get her on a podcast or, have her come just, a one-on-one with her. And today I finally got a chance to, and this is Natalie Fischer. Welcome to the podcast, the Roger Lee Podcast. We finally did it. You're here.
I know. I'm so happy to be here. We've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm really grateful that we decided on today for this podcast. And
I am very grateful. Yeah, because when Natalie and I talk, we talk a lot about life. And first time I met her, I don't know. I just had a sense that you like you're young, but you know a lot, right? And I've been through a lot, and when our conversation gets going, it's like we just have a lot of ideas, and we like to throw it back and forth. And so I wanted to have her on a podcast, but we didn't know what about life, because life, we could talk about many things, right? So the other day when I was talking, Natalie and I were on the phone, and I was talking to her, and she mentioned about how, after work, after a long stressful day, she comes home and she goes on her phone, right? And it's like, and I think a lot of us do that. I'm pretty much guaranteed that all of us, when we get that chance, we'll take that opportunity, and it's like phone first, right? And like for you, like how many hours do you usually go on your phone, like when you're actually settled in at home?
Oh, well, I want to say that my screen time has improved. When I was graduating high school, and then at the beginning of the pandemic, my phone screen time was about 7 hours to 10 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is like after school all the way to night, or like you're talking about like from the morning when you wake up to when you went to bed?
Yeah, for me, it was like I started going on my phone after school, and I would spend anywhere from 4 p.m. until 9 p.m. on my phones occasionally. And I would get off in between every like 15, 20 minutes. I would get off and then go back on it. A lot of it was for school, and most of it was for like socializing too, because I would like talk to my friends on like Skype, on Uvu, Snapchat, Instagram, but I use Snapchat the most out of any apps. And apart from like high school, my screen time really went up during the pandemic, unfortunately.
I think everyone did, because everyone was kind of like forced at home, and some people weren't used to that because they had a daily routine, right? They wake up in the morning to go to work. Yes. They're not on their phones all day, right? And then they come home and that's their time. But when you're at home all day, and you're also stressed and worried about the future and all that stuff, and your health, worried about your health, you go on the phone, right?
Yes. Well, for me, I just remember I agree with you on everything like that, having a routine. Because when I was in high school, I had a routine. And then immediately after graduation, I was taking some classes, and then I took a little break for one semester, and I was going to go back to school in the spring of 2020, and that's when COVID hit. And I just remember reverting to my phone after that, and I started to like create these habits of like being addicted to my cell phone, and like when you have, that's your way of connecting when you can't hang out with people during the pandemic. You couldn't like spend time with family or friends. So you would try to connect with them on the cell phone. And I feel like that could have destroyed like people's schedules, like you mentioned, like their schedules, and like some of their habits could have changed. And mine definitely did. But I want to say it's gotten better. I've improved with myself.
That's a hard thing to do, right? To limit yourself to like how much time you spend on your phone, right? I was thinking, what would happen if the pandemic happened and we didn't have cell phones? Like, just say the pandemic happened like 20 years ago. But I think it would be a little different because we wouldn't have known what it would be like to have a cell phone. But imagine going through the pandemic and not having cell phones to either, for entertainment or, talking to your family and friends. And like, that would have
Exactly.
been pretty crazy too, right? If you think about it.
I feel like we would have to, like, I feel like maybe there would have been some people who would have had family come over anyways, which is a little bit
Secretly.
yes. But then, but then also, I feel like we would probably still be like talking to our neighbors, like maybe like from across the
Hmm.
way, like, or we could call our family, but we wouldn't be able to have like a face to face interaction on like a camera with them, like we
Yeah,
are right
yeah.
now on this podcast. Like we wouldn't have
Yeah.
been able to do that.
Yeah, because you're all the way in Chicago and I'm in Toronto, so
Yeah.
it's like that yeah, that wouldn't happen, right? So yeah, so we were talking about after Natalie was talking about how her usage of her cell phone and stuff, and then that led to I wonder how students like when because students bring their phones to school, right? Like what would happen if all of a sudden there was a ban, right, and they weren't allowed to take their cell phones with them into class, right? And then we're
Yeah.
wondering, I wonder if, what countries out there right now are actually doing that, right?
But
And
then,
there are
yeah.
some. There
Do you
are
happen
some. I would give you, I actually, I don't have it memorized, but I'm going to give you that list because some of us
okay.
don't know, right? So France has one, and that was implemented in 2018, which is like 7 years ago, right? And reaffirmed it in 2021. Italy, an original ban was announced in 2007. That was a long time ago. So they were ahead of the game. They're like, oh, there's no way like the students are going to be able to bring their phones in, right, to class. And then you have Australia. They're prohibited in all state schools, but how the ban is enforced varies by state, territory, and grade. The Netherlands, England has one, Russia and Sweden, Canada, even Canada, including Ontario, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, and they have implemented stricter cell phone policies. So maybe not a complete ban, but there's you have to follow certain rules and stuff. And in some states in the United States, like Florida and South Carolina, have enacted laws or policies requiring public schools to ban cell phone use during class. And you were mentioning also Illinois or something like that. We're
Yeah.
recently starting
Yeah.
that or something like that.
It's something like I believe it happened in March. They ended up passing a bill. I didn't realize this until I was watching the news. They mentioned that ban, and
Mm-hmm.
they ended up passing it. But then I read an article mentioning that it's not going to start until next year in 2026.
Next
So
year.
it's a bit late. I would have wished that that was something that has happened for me when I was in like middle school, high school, because I feel like that would have been
Mm-hmm.
very life changing to be able to focus more of my attention on like the classroom and family and friends, and it
Mm-hmm.
definitely would have shaped my habits a little bit to
How is
improve.
it like bringing your phone, your cell phone into class? Like, so you would bring it in, but how often would you pull it under your desk and you'd be like browsing through your phone while the teacher was actually teaching the class, or like,
Well, I would say that not so much for me in high school, but I have noticed some other classmates when I was in high school who would do that.
mm-hmm.
And it was really bad to the point where the teachers, of course, would have to take some of the phones away. Um, but for me, when I was being taught in school, I remember like pulling out my phone occasionally and like checking some social media or texting classmates, and
Like
it
in the
was just
same class or in a different classroom?
in a different classroom, and we would
Oh,
talk
okay.
about like what we would do after school, like if we would go
Oh,
to the
right.
mall or just something like
Mm-hmm.
that, like making plans. But I knew that when class lessons started, I knew to put my phone away, but occasionally I would bring out my phone maybe like once every 3 to 4 days, like while the teacher was teaching. Like I would bring out
Mm-hmm.
my phone and do that, like kind of go like I wouldn't hide it. I would actually have it on the desk, like face basically like right in front of me like this on the table, and I would just kind of scroll sometimes, and
So
then
your teacher allowed all the students to do that, just to have your phone on your desk?
not everybody, but I
Uh-huh.
would do it occasionally, and I feel like my teacher knew that I wasn't like on my phone too much, and if she told me to put it away, I would listen, and it
Hmm.
actually helped me because I remember specifically like my Spanish class. I would bring out my phone occasionally, but then I would have it on my desk, and she would be okay with that. But I got away with it mostly because I would use my iPad because we all had iPads in my school,
Yeah.
and it was easier to play iMessage games on the iPad and to text your friends. So everybody would switch between apps from like iMessage, like 8 ball pool, back to like their homework, just like
Yeah,
a
right. A
like
swipe. Well, like one
yeah,
swipe.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
really,
crazy.
yeah. So
Yeah, because I never ever experienced that because when I was out of school, that's when, social media, cell phones, and all that stuff came, right? So I never really experienced that. So yeah, I'm just wondering what it would be like. Like, how do you think students would react if, like, all of a sudden, like, just say you were saying in Illinois, they're introducing it in 2026. I think there's a reason why they're doing it for next year because I think you have to mentally prepare these students to, like, you can't just like tomorrow the phones are going to be gone, right? It's like that would just be like chaotic. I just couldn't imagine how students would react, right? But if there's a plan where they kind of like mention it now, so they're at least they're mentally prepared and say, okay, well next year I know, that I'm not going to be able to bring my phone into class, right? How am I going to react to it? What do I need to do to prepare myself when school starts, right? Maybe I should start limiting myself by using the phone like during the summer holidays or whatever the case may be. So when I go to school, I can focus more, on my studies and listening to my teacher, right? So,
exactly.
I don't know, like I was talking about anxiety, right? Like anxiety, I would definitely like even if they were like they went to class and the first week comes by where they're just so not used to being able to use their phone, right? I think that would cause a lot of anxiety as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, I mean, from my perspective, I could just imagine if I was a baby growing up with technology and having it all the way from like
Birth.
being a toddler all the way up until like being a teenager. I can't imagine how that's like to like not have your phone in your like in your pocket anymore. I don't know how that's going to look when they remove the phones from the classroom. Maybe they're going to
Yeah.
want it in the locker, or maybe yeah, probably kept away in your backpack. And like, let's just say I don't know how that's going to be. Like maybe it's going to be a different kind of interactions with your friends. Like if you're not going to be able to send a text message to them and make plans after school. It's probably going to be more like passing in the hallway telling each other plans or
That's how
like
it used to be
or over the
back in the
weekend.
day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I do have some questions about that. Like
Okay, sure.
from like a your point of view, how was it like when you were growing up without a phone?
Well, there were no computers. Like we started off with like records, and then it, turned to like CDs. Wait, records? No, tapes, cassettes,
Yeah.
right? And when you put in a cassette, it's like you can't. If you wanted to go to the sixth track, you would have to fast forward, and if you want to go back to the song, you have to rewind. So you have to have a lot of patience, right? Taught us patience, right? We
Oh,
can't just press one button, the song would just like now, you on Spotify, you can choose whatever you want. It's like you would have to either fast forward or listen to like from track 1 to track 6, right? And
so
then
you
they
had
introduced,
oh wow. You had
yeah,
to
you have to, yeah. And then when you want to listen back all the way to, just say you listen from 1 to 12,
mhm.
like, right? And then you want to listen to song 1 again, you have to rewind the whole cassette back, right?
You couldn't
Which
just skip forward to like restart the whole
you
track.
can't because it's on like a film, right? So it's like
Mhm.
the songs. It's like you have to basically. It's like the VHS tape, right?
Oh,
You you have to fast forward or rewind. After you watch the movie, if you want to watch it from the beginning, you have to rewind the tape, right, to watch
mhm.
the thing, right?
Oh
So,
gosh. Okay.
that was from so it was from like record to CD, no, to cassette to CD. Now that made a huge difference because you can actually select what track you want to listen to, so that sped things up a little bit, right?
Oh wow.
And now we have Spotify or whatever MP3s. You just, you can select what song you want to do. And the same thing with movies, right? We started off with VHS or beta. There was like beta. There were like a smaller version of the VHS tape, and then that turned to like DVD, then Blu-ray, and now it's just all streaming, right? So it's like that whole process. But with the cell phone, it's funny because it started off as we had pagers, right? So the pagers, you would just clip it, and it was like kind of like a cool thing for us. Like all my friends had one, and we walked around like gangsters, like, oh, it was so cool to have a pager. So then, when someone called you, the number would show up on the pager, but then you'd have to have a phone, like either a phone booth, or you would have to go to use someone's phone to actually make that call, right? Yeah, the number would just show up, right? So if you called me, your number would show up, and like, oh, Natalie called. Okay, now I have to find a phone to make that phone call. It was like kind of square, like this big.
Was it like a little cube or something?
Yeah, it was like well, not a cube. Well, they got smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And there was like a display, and that display would just have, the number appear, right?
Oh, okay.
And then the cell phone was introduced, and we had the first one. It was, you've probably seen it. It's like a brick. It's like huge, like super heavy. We had that, and then. The reception was actually pretty good. And then they went to the flip phone, right? I remember it was like the Motorola flip phone. So it was actually smaller, and you would just fold the one piece, right? And then obviously there's no apps. It's basically just a phone, right? But it was still cool to walk around, it's like, oh my gosh, you have a cell phone. And then, slowly they introduced, and then slowly it evolved into, the smartphone with the touch screen. And then, to this, which is like a whole entire world in the palm of your hand, right? But from that to there was the internet, because we didn't have internet, when I was a kid, and it started off as dial-up, right? So you connected to your landline, and you would hear this like weird, and it would connect. Right. And then finally go, right, to connect. Right. So you have to wait for the connection. And then, I remember it was like just downloading like 1 megabyte was like 45 minutes for 1 megabyte. Now they can do like 3 terabytes in a second. So it's like crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. So we had to, it was a lot. It's like, it was so slow, like compared to now. Like I can understand how like this generation, like everything is this. It's like everything's got to go so fast, right? Like even like for adults too, right? When we buy things online because of Amazon, we expect next day delivery, right? Or maybe even free delivery, right? So, I was just thinking of it the other day, like, when you walk into a mall, I don't know how your malls are, but they're pretty quiet. It's pretty quiet there. It's only like during Christmas, like holidays, you'll see like a big gathering of people going to malls, right? But back in the day, it was always busy because no one could shop online, right? The only thing you can do is actually physically go out there to look at the product and then, purchase it, wait for the sales and stuff. But now everybody has the option to browse. They can compare prices. They can look at reviews, like through the entire world. It's not just your country or your city, right? Yeah. It's like all that information is there. So we didn't have that back then. So when I was a kid, because we didn't have that kind of technology, there was a lot of time for us to go outdoors, to go out to our friend's house. We'd go to the library.
Going to the mall and really like
going to the mall.
Products. Like,
yeah.
I feel like with like shopping now, it's pretty hard to like choose what you want, because I noticed that I can spend hours. I feel like maybe that happens to most people, where like they can spend hours, I can spend hours like scrolling on like all these different products.
Yeah,
and, like,
so much.
Reviews. Yeah.
And plus you can order like anywhere across the globe, right? As long as you're willing to pay for the shipping cost. Back then it was you can't do that, right? The only thing that was available was literally like shop whatever is there, unless you go and you travel to another country and you buy and you bring it back over, right?
I find that pretty cool, and I find it easier that you were able to like see the products like in front of your face, like face to face,
Mm-hmm.
because now we have to really think about, is this shirt going to fit me? And it's harder to tell if something's going to fit you, and you have to read the reviews because sometimes the products would arrive or sometimes they would be missing
Yep.
packages, or not even just that. It was just like harder to picture yourself wearing something like that, or even purchasing like a piece of furniture. But now I'm noticing that you can basically set up your camera and like
And see
look.
how it looks like in your room,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Or even
That's
like
crazy.
if you're going to buy like sunglasses, right? You can have it like on your face,
Mhm.
through the app or whatever, and then you could say, okay, that looks pretty good on me,
Or you could take a
right?
picture like wearing the sunglasses, like Snapchat lenses. They have
Oh
like
yeah, right.
sunglasses you can record from, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so cool how you can do something like that. But it's crazy how
Yep.
in advance you would have never thought that you could put on like shades and they start taking pictures of recording things around you.
Yeah,
Cool.
they have one. I think. Yeah, they have the glasses where you can now basically like record everywhere you go, take pictures. Yeah, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. So it was very slow back in the day, but I think we were able to experience more of what it was like to be around people. I think with relationships, I think it was way different back then. You know, you didn't have to rely on. I was just we were talking about how last time we were on the phone about like how people when they're messaging, it's so much different than when you're actually talking to someone on the phone because messaging you could type whatever you want. You don't even have to tell the truth. You can just lie your way through it, right? And then it's like, or sometimes, and we're talking about like how when you see that little bubble when you're waiting for that response, and then you see someone like kind of typing, that causes anxiety, right? It causes anxiety.
Exactly.
You're just waiting for someone. You're just waiting for that person to message back, and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What's going on? That communication level is completely different than what it was back in the day. Like if I were to call my girlfriend, I would pick up the phone and call her, say what I need to say, but she would kind of know that I was authentic when I was talking, but because she can hear my voice. When you're
Exactly.
texting, you could type whatever, make it sound like you're this sweet. You're like a sweetheart
Or super smart.
or super. Yeah, exactly. But you could be lying through your teeth, and that person will never know,
Exactly. Well, even
right?
with AI, since AI has developed, you can like
So
use AI
fast.
so many things. You can use
Yeah.
it for like wording. Like you can like if you don't know how to properly say something, you can like or like if you need some tips on how to reword things, you can like
Yep.
ask AI to help you like reword a paragraph or even help you with essays. But like some people use it, I feel like we can use it like fully for an essay, but now that there's a tracker, you can't really do that because professors can see when you're
Yeah,
using it.
how many students must be using ChatGPT or just AI chat. Like we didn't even have that. We would actually physically have to go to the library,
Yeah,
right? And then
use your
oh,
mind.
we had to write notes. Okay, we didn't have a computer. We had typewriters. Okay, I know
Yeah.
it sounds like 50 years ago, but it wasn't. Right? It was only like 25 plus years ago or whatever. Right? But still, it's like nowadays. It's like we didn't have that luxury of bringing our laptop to school or recording
Or an
like
iPad
a
to school.
lecture, huh?
Or an iPad to school. The
I
fact that like
iPad, we didn't have that, so everything was just writing down like a 20-page essay by hand, all right? Or you can either use a typewriter, but typewriter is pretty difficult too. But writing, you get hand cramps because you'd be writing so much. I'd rather be
yeah,
typing something. Right now, it's good that you can use ChatGPT because sometimes, but don't plagiarize. Obviously, you can get ideas and just and edit it, but because you're still learning, even if ChatGPT gives you a whole bunch of stuff, as long as you're reading the content, you're still
right.
learning, right? Depending on the
Exactly.
student, because right. But yeah, but with AI, like you can do many things. Like there's people that are those people that don't have a lot of friends or they don't have anybody to talk to, there's AI chat, right? Where they physically, like, not physically, but they actually talk back to you. So it really sounds like, a real person talking to you. Like you wouldn't be able to even tell the difference if that was an AI talking to you or not. And some people, have them as girlfriend or boyfriend, as long as it makes them happy,
Exactly. But also, it could be a good thing to teach you. Let's just say for people who don't have that everyday interaction, but they start to have that like
Hmm.
face to face interaction with people. If
Yeah.
if you don't know how to like approach a situation, like I spoke before, if you don't know how to approach a situation, you can ask AI like for many different ways you can like approach someone and talk to them. AI can even come up with like discussions, like topics you can talk about with somebody. It's pretty amazing. Like it could come up with questions. Like there's so many different things you can use AI for, like especially to learn how to communicate with others if you haven't had communication in person for a long time.
Hmm.
So it's pretty good.
Like there's therapy, right? Like this company contacted me and they're called Mentla. So they're like AI therapy, right? So you can literally go in there and you just ask them whatever questions and they'll like give you all the answers, right? Like even if you like for some people maybe they don't have enough money to, go like physically go to see a therapist or a psychiatrist or psychotherapist or whatever. You can ask these questions with AI because they have all the answers literally from all over the world and you can get answers through that, but some people would probably prefer to actually physically be talking to somebody, right? But like if I knew that when I was going through, because when I was going through my anxiety and depression, back in those days, there wasn't AI, there wasn't that kind of therapy available, right? Where you can ask these questions like, I'm going through this, how can I, so I had to find my own ways in trying to heal myself, and I found that obviously why I write quotes is because, reading quotes or positive affirmations really help reset the way I was thinking. It made me understand more about what I needed to do to how I can make my life better, right? And it's funny because back in the when people would say, "Oh, did you read this quote?" Whatever, and I would read it, but it would like literally go through one ear and out the other. Like I didn't really absorb it because I was just like, I think you have to go through something very difficult or something, and when you spot something or you read something, and that certain things you can reflect it upon your own life, then you're like, oh, I get it now. Maybe I have been doing it all wrong, or I can
Right.
start doing this, right? And I can start changing my life through that, right?
Yeah, sometimes it would have to like I feel like it would have to relate to you in some sort of way for you to
For
like
sure.
really focus on it, like you
Yeah.
mentioned. Like in order for it to stick with you, you have to read it a lot and you probably have to have a similar scenario going on in your life. But even
Hmm.
like having a quote in front of your face that you see every day, like I
Hmm.
feel like in the beginning it can be very refreshing to be able to read something that you see every day, but eventually you change it to another quote. Like I have a whole little calendar that like has flip pages, and every time I
Yep.
rip a page off, a new quote appears. And
Yeah.
it's good because some of it I can relate to, and like it really sticks with me. And I even have some on my wall in my bedroom, and it's really
You have
great.
a
I
paint.
can
Isn't that the
share.
painting behind you have something written on it? Was that the one?
Yes, actually, this is like a photograph of like winter, basically like a winter scene with a mountain, and it says
Yeah.
determination, and it says character may get you to the top, but it takes ability to keep you there. So exactly.
Yeah. I remember you showed that to me the first time we spoke, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a great thing.
Exactly.
That's such a great thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm so excited to share that with you because I know you do quotes, and I was like, you know what, this is a great one to share with everyone
Yeah.
on the podcast, on the
Yeah.
live stream. So
Yeah. Yeah. I remember somebody was asking me like, "Oh, Roger, you should do a calendar." Like what you were saying, you have a calendar. That you should do a calendar with all your quotes and stuff like that. And yes, that's something that I have to do as well. Like, every single day you read something different. But you can also even have it on your phone now, right? Like
I know.
you can have it on your wallpaper, like a widget or something, and then you can have it something new on your phone every single day,
That's
right?
great.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you think are we'll start, I guess we can start about pros about having a cell phone or technology. right? What do you think are the pros of having like a cell phone with you?
Okay. I would say it would definitely be like added security because let's just say as a female, if you're going for a walk, like I feel secure having a phone on me in
Mm-hmm.
case I need to contact somebody for
Yep.
anything, for any emergency. Like
Totally.
it could be anywhere from like if I trip over a curve or something and like kind of hurt my ankle, yeah, and I can't walk the rest of the way, I can call like my family or I could call like the
You could
hospital
Uber.
emergency
You
services
can't
for
even call it
Uber.
Uber.
Exactly. There's so many things you could do. It's a great way to like keep yourself protected and keep yourself like, you feel more secure having that on you because you can communicate with like the whole world about anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be a pro. And then even like another pro is so connection and then even like interaction. It can be a fun way to like interact with people and fun way to like play games occasionally. You can
Yeah.
even learn. You can like learn about the world and like read some news. You can like
Or read some
learn
quotes.
exactly read some quotes, like Roger Lee's quotes. Uh, and then another thing you could like read articles and learn some new information. Like I read about NASA, I read about space,
Mm.
and yeah, one of the articles I read today was about like the moon and how America and China they're basically having a race, like a space race going on, where like
I think were
um
they digging the minerals? Is that one? They were digging some sort of like mineral that can help Earth. Did you read that one?
no, well, actually, yeah, I
Okay.
have read that one, but that was a while ago. The one that I read recently, it was about like life and how basically there may be like life on the moon. On the very
Mm-hmm.
bottom of the moon, there's water, and like
Water, right?
maybe that can be a way that can sustain life. So they're trying to they want to build like a living habitat, like basically like buildings down there, probably where like we can go back and forth between Earth and the moon, and it's
Kind of like
also
the race to Mars.
yeah, like the race to Mars. But it's also a way to like basically save us because we don't know what they did predict that it's basically like 99 billion years from now that Earth is going to be uninhabitable habit sorry
Did you say 99 billion
yeah
inhabitable
99 or something like that, either 99 billion or 99 trillion.
or 9 billion? It's still a long time, but you
It is a
know,
long time, but
they
they
want
want
to
to
take
do
steps. They want to
more.
start taking steps. And that's again with technology too, right? Like the evolution of technology, it happens so much faster now than it did 20 years ago, right? It's just like,
Exactly.
every second it just gets more everything gets a little bit faster, more powerful, it just gets better and better and better. So
Those are all the pros.
yeah, I mean like just having like AI with robots. Yeah, we were talking about robots too, right? Having robots like taking over people's jobs. How many jobs have been taken over because of artificial intelligence, right? And I think some people might be scared about their job. Probably like you know maybe even if somebody's watching right now, they may be scared of their job because they heard that their company is hiring these robots to take over certain positions, right? It is scary. So you have to look at the next generation when they are about walking around or driving your cars or whatever. Like growing up, what do you tell your child on what to become in the future when certain types of jobs are already been taken over by AI, right? And I remember the guy that started Alibaba, right? Which is pretty much AliExpress also. But this was about like maybe 5 years ago. He already said that AI was going to take over jobs, and he said, for anybody that wants to learn something, do try to learn something that a robot can't. And a lot of it was like creative stuff, like singing or art or sports, stuff like that, because like AI can literally do pretty much any job, right? So that's pretty scary, right?
Yes, it can be, but I also feel like um we do have control over like what kind of jobs we want to be taken over.
Totally.
I feel
Totally.
like there's some creativity still, like for example, like an actor, like actors, actresses, and like directors, their jobs, half of it is technology and half of it is their creativity. So I feel
Yeah.
like we might have some jobs that are going to be like a mix between some of our actions and a mix between some of like AI's actions. It's just going to make it like a great experience, I feel. But
Hmm.
it definitely might take away some of the workload for us, which could benefit us, but also it could not benefit us because we're not going to have enough work to do anymore if like
Yeah.
robots take over most of the jobs. Like you mentioned, like dog walking, like you mentioned, like
Yeah. Yeah.
robots.
I was like, yeah, robots being able to walk your dog or stroll your babies, your kids, like doing your laundry and doing all your house chores for you.
Then what would you do in your free time? Would that give you more opportunity for hobbies, or would that give you
Possibly.
more opportunity to like lounge?
Yeah, or maybe yeah, we'll just give you that extra time, but it all depends on that specific person, right? On what you want to do on your spare time. Are you going to use it to try to find yourself, like find out what you really love to do? Now you have time to go and maybe spend more time with your family and friends, that kind of thing. Or you're just gonna sit. We were talking about Wall-E. Remember the movie Wall-E, where they're just sitting on
Yes.
this bubble and they're just literally doing nothing because the
They're
robots,
sipping soda
yeah,
or
just sipping soda and just
eating
doing absolutely
watching
nothing.
TV, like
Yeah,
really like hooked to the
like just
television.
binging all day, right? I
Yeah,
wouldn't want to do that. I would, like, if I were to have a robot doing all my stuff, then I would definitely take my time and work on myself and just still try to become the best version of myself.
exactly.
Use that time wisely. But you know, I probably would never have a robot. Because I love doing house chores. I love cleaning. I love doing all that stuff. So I wouldn't want anyone to take that away from me, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but it is
It's
kind
all
of scary in
personal.
a way, huh?
Yeah, I said it's all personal preference. I
Yeah,
feel
it is
like
totally.
yeah, with the future, like technology, we have the choice of like using it for good things or using it like productively or unproductively. I feel like
Hmm.
we're going to use it productively simply because back to like the space for a moment and like
Yep.
Earth. Um, and like the movie Wall-E, where Wally's trying to save Earth from like destruction. I
Yeah.
feel like we definitely will use robots as a way to like advance ourselves to like the moon or advance ourselves to Mars. I
Hmm.
feel like that's something insane. Hopefully one day we get there. That would be pretty
It's
cool.
gonna happen. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but we're definitely moving towards that, right?
That's pretty
We
exciting. It can also be a little nerve wracking, but pretty exciting.
Yeah. Like, would you go to Mars ever? Would you ever leave Earth so that you can live on Mars?
I'm curious about what other people would say too, but for me, I would say
Depending
if
on
I
the
had
circumstance?
the funds, if I had the funds for it,
Yeah.
and if I knew that it was safe and there was like some safety precautions, definitely. Because I've seen some movies before where they make it seem like you go to space and they make something really crazy happening, like you have your oxygen mask off or
Yep.
something.
Yeah.
Like just like with proper safety protocols, probably yes, I would.
Like
If
it's
it was
100% safe. You're guaranteed to get there safely. It's like, like when you go on a plane, you feel safe already. You know you're gonna get to that destination. You're gonna be safe, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Right. I'm sure
Or
when
like
they're
a
first,
car.
huh?
It's or like a car, you have to put your trust into
Yeah,
people.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely would be an incredible experience, just to be even in space to, feel what it's like,
Exactly.
to be up there. But I wouldn't want to be lost in space. Can you imagine being lost in space?
Well, yeah, that would be pretty scary. Like you're just floating through space and
Yeah, and infinite of darkness or whatever, and no one's there to save you, and you're
that
just
would be a
floating
little
there in
terrifying at
space.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, it would. I mean, that's kind of how it felt like when I was going through my darkness. It was just, I felt like I was just floating in this darkness and no one's ever going to find me or help me or save me, you know. And it's such a such a horrible feeling. But I don't regret any of whatever happened to me, because otherwise I wouldn't be here doing what I do, right? Like it just literally, it was just something that I had to go through in order to learn about life and to learn about myself. And, something really great happened out of it. I'm able to, teach people how I was able to get out of that darkness. And to have, my podcast. So I can talk to amazing people like you,
Thank you.
Yeah. Like connect. Oh, that's another thing about technology, is about connecting with people, like connecting with people from all over the world. Like even with like sometimes you move far away from your family, and back in the day, the only thing that we can do is either you send mail or you make that long distance phone call, which is super expensive. It was like 50 cents per minute or something like that. It was crazy expensive. I remember when I was talking to some people, like we had this thing called AOL, right? So it was like, and my brother and I, we would just like go into this chat room, and then we would send all these messages to like all these girls, right, from all different countries. Just say hi, how are you, and blah 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 blah. And then you get to meet some of them, and then they would share your phone number, and so I would call them up, right? And then I think one of them was like out in LA, and I spoke to her for about an hour, and then my mom was like, Roger, did you call Los Angeles? I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, it came up to like $310 for an hour. Yeah.
How? And now it's not like that.
Now it's just like free. It's free, right?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And now, like that's so crazy to think that family, they can see where you're calling from, and they're like, yeah, there's a really big bill now. Like we have a $500 like phone bill now. That's pricey. I can't
It
imagine
is.
that.
No, yeah, it was crazy. So now it's like you can contact NBA, and not it's just a phone call, but it's a video call, right? It's a video call, and you can enjoy more of those moments, right, with your loved ones, or even your friends or colleagues that are living not in your city or state or whatever, and just keeping, that connection, to keep that connection, right?
So I got a question for you.
Sure.
Why do you think? I wonder how, like, technology has evolved to the point where we no longer have to pay for like video and like phone calls. Do you happen to know like why it's like? I mean, I know it's because we use like a monthly phone service, but I wonder if it has something to do with like satellites and like the internet like evolving. Like I wonder why it's cheaper. Like why we don't have to pay so much anymore for like phone calls and landlines.
Because there's competition, probably. Because the more people they have, it's pretty much, I think, based on that monthly fee that you pay. So when you reduce the price, people are like, hey, why is Netflix a lot cheaper than Disney Plus or whatever, right? So they're gonna grab that, and then, but sometimes they do increase the prices slightly, annually maybe, but if you look at how much content you get for what you pay, that's where they catch the people, right? Commercial free, right? Commercial free.
That's
Actually, I
true.
think Amazon started adding commercials in, and then you have to pay us like $1 or something a month to remove the ads. Do you have Amazon Prime?
I don't have Amazon Prime. I just have
Okay.
Amazon. I do see
Yeah.
those ads.
Yeah, but they have the ads. Yeah, they have the
It's not that
ads. So
annoying, though.
yeah, they're not that bad. They're not that. Hey, back in the day when we were watching TV, like every 2 minutes, like just say I was watching Transformers or like He-Man or whatever, right? Like after school, the one thing that we would do, the first thing we would do is we go in front of the TV and we watch TV, right? But then there's like these 30-second to a minute commercials for every 2 minutes you watch. And it's like you have no choice but to wait for the commercials. But nowadays, like we do see commercials, but like when you're watching YouTube and there's like a 5-second to a minute commercial, but it's not like 30 seconds every 2 minutes, right? So you'd have to wait. Yeah. And then with like streaming services, you literally like Netflix, there's no commercials. You get to, literally pick what you want to watch. pause it whenever you want, save it for later, download it. Like if you travel, then you can download it and then watch it while you're on the plane or whatever, stuff like that. So there's just so much more, like it's so convenient. So, living back then when we had to wait so long to get certain things or to, I think it helped our generation with patience, like with this generation now, it's like people want everything like tomorrow, and I wouldn't say, I guess it would I would say kind of like mess you up a little bit up here because some people just aren't willing to, like when they say, why can't I succeed? Because they want success in a week, right? And I always talk about taking those little steps and, how you have to be patient because one day those little steps will become big steps and then, that step will become a leap. And then, one day you'll be on top of that mountain, right? But do you have the patience to wait for that day to happen, right?
Well, since you mentioned patience and like wanting success in a week, I do want to mention how technology, like social media, has influenced the way we view the world, of course. Like the way we view other people's lives. I remember us talking over the phone about how some people, they show these like very lavish lives, how they're on a boat somewhere on an island, or they have this really nice car. But from what I hear from other people, maybe most of those people have worked hard for that, and we can't see that part. So when we see it, we're like, wow, how do they have something like that? What do they have to do to get to that point? But not many people share their lives like that. They share everything that they have, but they don't share how they've received it.
Yep.
And I think it would be pretty interesting to know how some people receive their great things in life that they've accomplished. One thing I've noticed and I've heard is some people, they get these cars simply to show that they work hard, and then there's some people who show these things to basically to be like, this is what I have, but they don't have it because they rent a car, or they rent a boat, or somebody else pays for their trip and they don't have to. So it's easy to compare your life to how someone has a really great life, and it's easy to compare yourself when you don't have all of those things and you want those things that they have. It's definitely a great motivation, but I feel like it can definitely lead to like jealousy or sadness that you can't have what somebody else has. But on the positive side of it, some people share how they got their success, and it's like a motivation for you to work on yourself. And
it's perspective, right? You can look at either way, right? How do you see it, right? Do you look at it as like, oh, I'm so jealous because they have all that and I don't have it? That's going to affect the way you think and feel about yourself too, right? Yeah. You can look at another person can look at that same exact person and say, you know what, I want to be just like that person because I believe that they really worked hard to get that. And I'm going to do the same thing. I want to work hard so that one day I will be able to obtain that or have that in my life, right? Or you can be the other guy and just say, I can't believe I wasn't born with what he has, or I'll never make enough money to be that. So then they start hating their life, and that's a lot. So, and I think a lot of like this generation, they look at the social media and they scan the entire world, and then they compare those people with their own life, and they're like, I need to be like that person. They're so popular because they're wearing this certain thing, they're doing this certain thing, they have this certain job. I have to be like that. So what happens is that specific individual is going to have that much of a harder time finding who they actually are, because they want to be a copycat. They want to become somebody else, right? But there are some people that can say, you know what, I want to be. The only way I'm going to find out who I am is if I try wearing this type of clothing, or I read this certain material, or I do this certain thing. This is the only way I can find out what I really like, because some people are kind of lost. They don't know, what they love to do, or what their heart is really telling them. What is your passion, or who you are, right? Exactly. And that, I think it's a good thing, because I mean, there's pros and cons for everything. But if you can look at it and say, these individuals, the people that I look at, can help me find out who I want to be, right? But if you look at it as I'm jealous, I hate them, then obviously that's a bad thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do want to mention.
Sorry,
Like,
you're lagging a little bit. I'm just waiting
no,
for it to catch up.
no, I
I
see
can
it.
see you like moving like a robot, but I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Hello, can you
You know
hear
what?
me?
I think actually when the whole thing is uploaded, it'll probably be fine. But I
Oh
can't
man.
hear you.
Roger, I am
Can you hear
seeing.
me?
Yes.
It's just lagging a little bit.
Okay,
I
I'm
think it'll
seeing
catch up.
it says trying to
You see
reconnect.
me?
Yes. Is it choppy audio?
I'm trying to read her lips right now.
Hang on. And you.
I think you're frozen now. Oh, I think Wait, I think you're back. She's typing something. I lost her. Oh, you know what? We're going to actually do a second part on this because I lost her. Okay, let me see what happens when I stop. And we are back. We had some technical difficulties. And we do have a special guest. Our second guest for the show. Who's that? Did Natalie turn into a cat? Who is that? I guess I'll let Natalie do the introduction.
Hello.
There you are.
Oh my cat. Oh. Yeah, she really wanted to steal the limelight for a moment. My gosh.
From both of us. Yeah.
Excuse me? You even moved my camera and everything. What are you doing trying to take control of my laptop? What did I tell you about taking my laptop and trying to use it? You can't.
She's like, I'm the star of the show, not you guys.
Do you really want to do this podcast?
You know what? One day we'll do a podcast about pets. I think that one's a really important one.
Do you really
because I can talk a lot about, my dog, right, and how she helped me and all that stuff, and you probably have the same thing with her too, right? But today's topic is about life and the evolution of technology. And, on the break, Natalie and I were talking about, actually, she was saying about how she was talking to her mom. Was it earlier today?
Yes, I did a little interview with her to figure out.
With her?
Yes, to figure out what exactly it was like. I have a perception of what my life was like when I was a kid with evolving technology. But my mom, she mentioned that when I was a kid, I would, let's see, I recorded some notes here. So she remembers.
She's really prepared.
Yes. She remembers that when I started using my phone more, I started to focus on my phone more than other things. She said I would grab it in the car, and sometimes I would even play with it in the back seat of the car. And then I would call my friends privately on her phone. I would be like, Mom, can I borrow your phone for a moment? And then she said that I would call friends without her knowing. I would just use her phone to call my friends. Like,
oh,
secretly.
Man.
I guess maybe as a kid, I didn't know how to tell her I wanted to use her phone to call friends. I guess I was more this is my phone.
How old were you? 8? No.
I want to say I was like 8, 9, or somewhere between 8 to 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I would give her phone back after talking to my friends. And then she would notice how my mood would change. I used to be very happy when I was a child. I had some good and bad moments, but before technology, we would play Chutes and Ladders. We would play Twister. I would play Barbies with my mom. I would even play ball. like I literally had this blue tie-dye ball and I would just like kick it around everywhere around the park. So
Yeah.
really yeah, I have a lot of memories of just having fun outdoors and occasionally with family in the house playing board games or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, games like that. Reading, I'm pretty sure my mom would read to me and I would be focusing on her reading
Mm-hmm. And the
and
more you
then
spend time using the phone, it's all the other that outdoor stuff kind of like not as much, right?
yeah, well, basically when my mom got her first phone, it was like a BlackBerry. It looked like it was a BlackBerry.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember the Blackberries.
Yeah, but it wasn't like the Blackberries that had the flip out. It was like a knockoff version of the BlackBerry.
Oh, okay,
She
okay.
got it from
With all
America.
the keypad, right? With the key with the small little buttons. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would use her phone, call my friends, like I said, and then one day when I got out of school, I was like, "Hey, mom, let me borrow your phone." And I'm in the car and I open up Uno and I'm just playing Uno on the phone and everything. And I
Mm-hmm.
played the free trial version because I knew
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't charge my mom's card for Uno.
Which
So I
some kids do, right? That's another thing where kids like purchase things or purchase games, and then the parents like, oh my gosh, look what happened. You spent all my money on whatever.
well, that has happened to me too, actually. When I was in middle school, I actually did that.
Yeah.
Not the
Like, and
best.
you knew that oh, my mom's gonna kill me for this, but I have to buy it. Were you thinking that in
Well,
your head?
it was more like an urge. It was more like, oh my gosh, I really want to buy this because I really want this one thing on the game.
Yeah.
And of course, as a kid, not many kids have that like good self control because
Mm-hmm.
you're still developing and you like you see something and you want it. And maybe that's how the generation is now still today. Like you mentioned, you see something and you want it. You want like a lifestyle that people have, or you
Yeah.
want the newest toy or the newest like game. But yeah, I just remember my mom one day, she was like, you could take my phone. So I did. And basically, she also noticed that I seemed overwhelmed and disappointed when I was on the computer a lot.
Yeah.
She said I was like tired a lot, and I started focusing more on video games on my laptop, and I wasn't eating properly, and I would stay up late as a
I think a
kid.
lot of I think a lot of kids even nowadays are doing that, spending so much time, whether it's on their phone or their laptop, right? Because it's
Or
just
gaming. Yeah.
yeah, lots of gaming, lots of
Yeah, I feel like they could change the focus because you're so focused on like the fun on the screen that like you don't really pay attention to the fact that you need to take care of yourself and you need to like eat at a certain time every day because you get so
hmm
distracted on the phone. Even now in my 20s, I still occasionally make that mistake of like eating later on because I'm like, oh shoot, so much time has passed. I'm on my phone and yeah,
Yeah, it's
but
crazy how time flies too, right? When you're just so like focused on whatever you're watching or playing, right? But then when you get a little older, then that's why I like to talk about focus is because it's your choice where you want to put your attention towards, right? So, and they're also younger, so there's a lot like video games, for example. I don't play as much video games as I used to, but I can imagine being their age and saying, wow, there's a whole world of video games out there. I
yeah.
can choose whatever I want to play.
Yeah, there's so many games out there you can really get lost in it. So
Yeah, because back then we had to buy, like, when the Atari came out, Nintendo 64, or just the older consoles like the Genesis. You have to go out and buy the video game cartridge, and that was your way of being able to play video games, and they weren't cheap, right? They were pretty expensive. And then the internet was introduced, and then online gaming was introduced. So now they get the best of both worlds because you can still buy, your, PlayStation or your Xbox, but you also have the choice to also have online gaming.
yes, and that is something that actually carried on through like my childhood, like
hmm
gaming online. Like we had when I was in school, um, many things happened with social media. For one, I experienced some bullying when I was a kid. When I
Mm-hmm.
when I made a Facebook for the first time, I would post a lot of fun things on there and like post whatever was on my mind because
Mm-hmm.
Facebook always said, "What's on your
What's on
mind?"
your mind, right?
So
And
I
you
would
would
share,
just, I'm feeling today. I'm feeling.
yeah, I'm feeling happy because I went to a carnival or something like great like
Mm-hmm.
that, and then I would post photos
And then
and
you would get some responses from your friends, and
yeah.
sometimes they weren't like the best or nicest comments.
Yeah, like occasionally they would be like, ew. I won't get fully into it, but yeah, there were comments like, ew, you're gross, or ew, that's ugly. Why are you posting that? And it was just a picture of
Mm-hmm.
me like in a bikini at a pool because I was just having fun. I was like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
want a peace sign photo by the pool. And that was a bit harsh and kind of, it's unexpected when you're a kid on the cell phone and you see
Mm-hmm.
like a really mean comment. But now it's more controlled. But
Mm-hmm.
back then, I feel like it was a little bit more out of control. And now we have like, now I'm hearing that they have like these parental controls that can prevent kids from experiencing bullying, and they can
Yeah.
see, and they're controlled in a way where you can't see like all the bad content that
Mm-hmm.
kids were able to scroll across on the computer as kids. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty crazy what we were like shown on the internet sometimes. Like, there was a lot of like bad things that were on the internet that are now actually better and improved. You can't really see all of them with kids' parental controls.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, bullying. I hope that gets continues to get better and that we have so much more resources now, so younger kids can reach out and you can even use AI as a way to help you through bullying
Yeah,
too.
like we were talking about, like, some sort of therapy, right? Or just someone to talk to,
Exactly.
you
You
know.
have somebody you can talk to, even if it's a robot now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't know them, and they're not going to go around and spreading your information to whatever, because they're just there to, answer your questions and help
Yeah.
you if possible.
Well, I have heard that with AI, you do have to be careful what you share because they are worried that like leaks can happen with AI, where some of your information can get out to other people, and
Hmm.
now
I'm sure
hackers are
things
even
get recorded and stored, right?
exactly, yeah, and now even hackers are getting worse too, like
Smarter.
scams with phone calls.
Yeah,
And
some of them are. I heard there's some pretty crazy ones out there.
yeah, I know a lot about it because I've even read about it, and they say that passwords are being compromised. Like
Hmm.
2 billion passwords are there's a dark web that has all of these passwords that everybody has, and like they're trying every single password now, and hopefully it never happens because I hear like our security is really good, but
Yeah,
who knows? The future could
but
change, but hopefully it changes for the better that we have better control of our information being shared around on the internet. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Because anything that you put, like anything you input into the web, that's basically you sharing to the world. Whether you feel that all your stuff is safe or whatever, but anything, right? Any photo, anything you type, write, speak, whatever,
Yeah.
it's being recorded, but it's just, it's kept in a safe. But somebody might be able to crack that, and get that
Exactly.
information out.
Yeah. It's good to be careful. Like, really be mindful of the things you post, like pictures you post and all of that.
Hmm.
Unless you know what you're posting and you have no fear about it and you're like, okay, this is okay to
Yeah.
post, then it's
I mean, that's
totally.
what Instagram and Facebook is pretty much about. Like people sharing their, what they do on a daily basis, or, share all their family events and whatever. Like it's still, at the end of the day, it's your choice, right? It's your choice what you want to post, what you want people to see.
Yeah.
If you don't feel, bad about putting it up, but,
Yeah.
just be careful still, what you want. You
Yeah.
don't want to post like everything, because anybody can just go into your profile and they'll know everything about your life, like absolutely everything, right? That's why they
Yeah.
make so many
Especially,
movies about it. There's so many
yeah.
movies about like almost every single movie has something like, oh, they'll look into your Instagram profile. That's how they find you. You know, that's how they know so much about you, because you have all that information. Basically, here's an open book. This is my life. You know, like, do you post less on Facebook? Like when you were going through that bullying stage, and you're just like, well, maybe I shouldn't post photos anymore, or maybe I shouldn't, tell people how I feel. Did it give you that kind of insecurities? Like, I don't want to. I think I'm going to do it less. Or you're just like, I don't really care what people think. I'll just keep posting.
Well, I actually still kept on posting, but one thing I would do is I got a Nintendo DSi when I was a kid, and
I remember those.
When I got the Nintendo, what did you say?
I said it was so fun. I had one of those.
Yes, I still have my Nintendo DSi XL, and it's like a red one.
XL, huh? Oh, you got the nice XL.
Yes, and it has Mario on there. It has like little Luigi. It's got like
it's like a special edition.
Yes, I could pull it out and show you if you would.
Yes, I would like to see. For some people that don't know what a DSi is.
Oh gosh! But before I share the Nintendo, briefly I want to say, like, I would post pictures on there. Like, I would post myself with like painted nails, a peace sign, and all that stuff. And I actually was still posting photos of myself and editing them too. A great thing about technology is you can really edit your photos, and it can be very fun, and you can have a lot of creativity with it. So I really dived into my creativity, and I'll share my Nintendo with you. Give me 1 second.
All right, let's
go.
In the
meantime, enjoy this kitty cat, and I will be right back.
Okay. She's like, oh, she's stolen your chair.
Oh, I know, right? She's just like, you can't have it back.
She owns it now. Look at her go. That's so funny. Yeah, it's crazy to see, the evolution of technology, especially from when, like, I've seen the evolution of the computer. I've seen the evolution of video game consoles. I've seen the evolution of, VHS to what it is now, and records. Like, when I was a kid, it was just, we only had records. And surprisingly, records actually still sound really, really good, like records. And then, going through life without internet and comparing that to what it is now, to like literally like how you can't pretty much live without the internet. It's just, and it's only been like from 30 years, like the evolution of technology has just been like like 20 years ago, it was still like the evolution of technology was at that time seemed like it was going fast. But if you compare that 20 years ago to today, it's like every single day there's like a new invention. There's something more better or more powerful, and I think consumers are always looking for that better thing, or that, like, for example, if you just bought a cell phone this year, next year you'll be like, I want that phone, even though it's like a little bit faster or the screen's a little bit bigger, but I just bought the phone, but I want the next model,
Yeah, it's like the phones, they all still look like the same, but the only thing is changing is like the camera quality.
The camera? Yeah, the camera and, the processor. Yeah, like I have a Google, like I got the Google 7. I didn't think I was going to get it until like the Google 10 or something like that. But then, I ended up getting the Google Pixel 9, but they just offer really good deals now. It's like, well, if you blah, 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 right, we'll throw in a free phone.
Yeah.
She's lucky she doesn't have to worry about all that stuff. All the technology and all that stuff.
Well, I do occasionally, but like I'm sticking to my iPhone 12 for now and my laptop, and yeah, I don't really update my phone all the time, but it is a good thing to do, and I definitely want to get a new phone at some point. But I'm gonna wait for the prices to get lower on cell phones before I spend $1,000 on this.
I know, like $1,000 or sometimes even $3,000 for like the what was it? The Huawei or something. They had the triple fold phone. Did you ever see that? It's like this. Oh, sorry, it's like that. It's about this thick, and then you open it up, and it's like this huge iPad.
I had no
It's
idea.
crazy.
What's the name of it?
I think it's Huawei. It's a China brand, and I think it came out like maybe half a year ago or something like that. Yeah, you'll see it on TikTok or something. I was like, that looks like a nice phone to have, but I was like, nah, I don't think I need something that big.
Yeah, definitely not. But you know what would be really cool? If, like, I'm thinking about the future right now in phones, and, like, I wonder if they're ever going to have. I've always seen futuristic movies, TV shows that have, like, those little phones that are like a pen, and when you press a button, like, the screen pops up. Yeah.
I would
like,
see that happening. It could even be a holographic screen.
That's what I was saying.
Right? It all started from Star Wars. The
From Star
holographic
Wars?
images. Yeah, they had like these holographic images, and then you like can talk to them. Right?
I know of that.
Yeah.
That would be
They had like Princess Leia on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might
Like
be
they
a
even
thing.
they had that technology. They have that technology where the screen is see through, right? And you could see right through it, right? So,
Exactly.
or you can have the phones that like, you know those bracelets where you like slap it on your wrist and it becomes a bracelet.
Yeah.
They have like, I've seen like prototypes of like phones like that too. Just slap it on your
Really?
wrist. Yeah, and then oh, you're gonna make a phone call. It's like your wrist.
Seems pretty good, honestly. It seems very convenient because it's just
Yeah.
something so tiny, and you don't have to have this huge bulk. I remember when the iPhones were like a brick, and you tried to fit them in your pocket, and you couldn't. From what I
Yeah.
hear, some people had the really big ones, and now,
Yep.
and then we got the iPhone SE, which is like very tiny.
Yeah.
Like, easily fit in your pocket, but then it drops out of your hand easily. So
Yeah.
pretty
Mhm.
crazy. So
Yeah. Did you show your DSi? Did you find it?
no, I tried to look for it, but I couldn't find it.
Well, the good thing about the internet is that you can search for anything and you'll find images of it.
All right, let me
Right?
search it up.
Oh my god, okay, see, okay. There you go. Oh, we were also talking about YouTube videos, how people can learn, if there's a specific profession that you want to, work towards in the future, or if there's always something you wanted to learn how to do it, like you just go to YouTube and there are so many people sharing videos on how to, because Natalie was talking about how she made her own drink that was almost like a Starbucks drink, right?
Yes.
Did you show her? Oh, wait, actually, she has a drink, but that's actually from Starbucks. But she actually made one. Was it exactly like this or something similar to this?
Exactly like this. Venti iced cherry with chai latte. But what I have at home, I didn't know how to create like cherry syrup. So I searched it up online. I'm like, how do you create cherry cold foam? And it told me that you basically just like, you have to take the pit out of the cherry, put it all in a pan, a pot, pan or pot, whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer a pot because you can add more water, have more cherry juice. So yeah, you just put cherries in the pot, you put water, and then like you put like a cup of sugar in the pot and you boil it for like 10 to 15 minutes and it becomes a syrup. And it just showed me how to create this chai
That
latte.
almost exactly.
And it tastes almost exactly, but I'm noticing my cherry latte is a little bit more natural because I'm tasting a slight difference in the flavor of the foam. Basically, it's sweeter than what mine tastes like at my house. But yeah, you could really like create anything from like online. Like AI gives me tips on how long to bake like summer squash and all this, and it could give you like basically anything you want to bake or cook. It tells you.
Yeah, we were talking about recipes. Like you can find the recipe for pretty much anything and everything. So if you ever want to learn how to cook, which is like me, I would just go and I will just search up the recipe. What's the best fruit to use? I mean, what's the best ingredients to use? What's the best, best of whatever? And then you can just try it. you know. And I think a lot of people could finally, I mean, find out what they really love to do. Like what is their passion? You know, for those people who are still trying to find it, or who are kind of lost, there must have been something in your childhood that, you know, that you were thinking about that you wanted to become. But I guess along the way, you just never got the opportunity, or knew anybody that can help you with that. But nowadays, it's like, just search on the internet, ask AI, go to YouTube, watch a video, and then you can make it happen. I think that's one of the best things about the internet and about, you know, the technology that we use right now, is that we can use it to help ourselves, right? Become who we want to be. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without technology, right? Like, if it was 30 years ago and I wanted to write quotes, how would I be able to share it to millions of people around the globe?
A different way. You would probably
I would like use pigeons, send them across the ocean. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't know what to. I would have to write a book. I would have to write a book, a physical book, and I would have to find a publisher, and it'd be very expensive. It'd be very expensive, right?
Exactly. And I gotta say, when I was a child, I never would have thought today I would be sitting here with a laptop, making a podcast, or even searching up any of like these recipes online, and let alone like doing a face-to-face communication. Because I don't really think that the cameras were not a thing on laptops in like 2005, 2006. My first laptop I got, I was 7 years old, and that's when they put the camera on. I was 7 when I used my parents' laptop.
And it's super pixelated.
Yeah, I accidentally spilled water on the keyboard, and then they had to get a second laptop.
And then they were like, "Okay, Natalie, don't ever touch my laptop ever again."
Well, they let me use the second one, but every time they saw a drink next to it, they're like, "You better not."
It happens, man. It happens. I think now they make the laptops waterproof now. Actually, I don't even know if mine is like spill proof, but I'm pretty sure it is. See, they get smarter and smarter, man. Technology just keeps getting better and smarter, and maybe even less expensive, because, you know, they need to sell as many units as possible.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. And even phones have become waterproof too. Like water resistant, and speakers and all that. I remember a speaker I had, it said it was waterproof, and I tested it at 12 years old, and I dropped it in my friend's pool. And
on purpose?
On purpose, because I wanted to test it to see if it worked. And nope, it never worked after that. So it's good thing to test things out. It's another thing to,
you know, that's another good thing that you can do is reading reviews on certain products or anything that you want to purchase, right? Because before you buy, you can listen to other people around the world who's tried the product, and then you can make your decision based on that, right? Like,
yes.
20 years ago, we didn't have, I don't know if it was a 20, but you didn't have that opportunity to hear other people's opinion about a product before you buy it, you know?
Exactly. And now we have that. It's like marketing has really expanded.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. And what else did I want to say? And about jobs, I just wanted to say also about jobs, how the internet and technology has helped so many people like starting up their own business at home, right? And, you know, and the good thing about that is, like, if you're starting a family, or if you have kids, you can actually work from home, spend time with your kids, and do all the things that you would have that time to do that, compared to if you had to commute every single day to go to a job. You work 9 to 5 or whatever, how many hours. You come home, you're so tired, you don't have time to spend with your kids or your family, and you miss that portion of your life, right? And that's a big chunk of, I think, what life is about, is to, you know, spend time with your loved ones, right? And I think with the technology we have now, it gives a lot of people that opportunity to have a more fulfilled life, you know, because they get that opportunity to, especially when you're raising kids, right? Like, you know, I think it's just very important to do so, you know, and Yeah, it's definitely an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're like raising little ones like this, or you want to be
Yeah,
home
even
with
pets,
your
even your
babies.
exactly right. If you don't have kids, but you have a dog or you have a cat or you have a turtle, I have a turtle. I have a
Oh
turtle.
wow, you have
I
a
do.
turtle.
I have a turtle. My mom used to have a farm in her home. She had like 15 birds, like 10 fish, two dogs, which were mine and my brother's. What else? Oh, we had a turtle at her house too. So you walk in and you would hear like all these animals like
Exactly.
making all this noise and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I had a turtle too as a kid, and it's definitely good when you can spend more time with them. And another thing that I just thought of right now is like technology. You can like you can like search up with like AI, or you could even talk to a vet from your house or a
Hmm.
vet from online and get some information before having to go to like a veterinarian, and you can
Yeah.
just search up information about
Look,
like
if there's
what's
specific
going
types of food that you're feeding your dog or your pet or something, before you
on.
feed them, you can, I don't know, ask Alexa or ask Google or
Yeah.
again, type in and ask AI chat or whatever, and you can find the answer, and you get the answer just like that, right?
Exactly.
Back then, we would have to either make that phone call to a professional, or you go to the library, or you can go into your encyclopedia set if you're lucky to own one of those and try to find it. We had back then the thing we would always get someone knock at our door and say, "Would you be interested in buying an encyclopedia set?" It'll be like $5,000 or something like that for like 32 books, and we'll throw in a free bookshelf too. It's like, and my mom fell for it. She bought
Oh
one.
my
Oh my gosh.
gosh.
Yeah.
Did you use it?
A couple of times. Like if I didn't want to go to the library, I'd be like, well, I do have the encyclopedia, so I can use that.
It was fun. I actually used that because my mom had an encyclopedia. When I was a kid, I didn't know any words, so I would just like go through the pages and be like, "What is this?" Like you would just read the definition of everything. Even in school,
Yeah.
we would have encyclopedias before technology. Now we could search up anything we want to know about, like,
Mm-hmm.
which is amazing.
All
It's
the answers in the tip of your fingers. Right. And
exactly.
I think and what?
That's the best thing about it. So
Yeah, information, man. And also like, but the thing is with that much information, I guess you can look at it as, it's too a little bit overwhelming. But it also depends whether you're out there, depending on how many hours you spend, like looking through all that content. But like, it's just like so much more you have to process and think about, and that's when your mind kind of gets kind of lost because there's just so much information, right?
yeah,
Back in the day when before internet, you'd read a book, you'd watch TV, you'd listen to music, or you talk with your friends. And I mean, that's about all the information that you can get, right? But now it's like if you're seeking for information, you type one thing and there's like a whole bunch of answers, and then you have to your mind has to process that, right? And then you
yeah,
get the choice to watch as much TV as you want, right? And then you can listen to as much music as you want, and then it's just a lot of information to handle. And I think that's why, like, there's so many more cases of people with anxiety or you know um, depression or anything like that, because
high
that involves your
stress.
mind, right? Yes, stress, all
Yeah,
that stuff, right?
yeah,
But
but
then
that's
there's a balance because you can always find help on the internet. You can find help.
I would also say being in touch with nature probably helps too because, like, sometimes when I'm on my phone, I do feel overwhelmed with so much information that my head just gets clouded.
Hmm.
And it's just like there's so much, you feel like
Yes.
brain overload, like your mind's feeling at you
Yep.
got a headache, and
Yep.
you're
But
like,
to
I'm just
explode.
gonna put the phone away and go out for a walk or something. And sometimes that's all you need. You just need to connect with your pets and like your family and like go out in nature.
And
It's the
connect with
best thing.
nature.
Yeah, that's the
I
best thing
love
to do.
doing that. Like, just every morning before well, actually I sit on my front porch and, That's where I come up with most of the stuff that I write. And I just sit there and, there's rabbits and there's lots of birds and there's a beautiful tree in front of my house. And I just kind of just tune in with that, right? And I feel as though as they are a part of me and I am a part of them. And I kind of like, I block out everything else. And it's kind of like my place where I can just kind of feel peaceful, and it's good that you mentioned that. For anybody that feels that there's just too much information, or their mind is clouded, just to turn that switch off for maybe 5 minutes of the technological world, and focus your attention on the outside world, which is nature itself. It feels so good. Just listening to a bird chirp makes a huge difference. Can you imagine how much peace they are at because they don't have money involved in their life? Just kidding.
They fly around for free.
They don't have to worry about, oh man, I have to pay for this. They're just living life, man. Cats, yeah. Just look at your cat. Look how peaceful she is. Look at her. Right?
Yeah. She doesn't have to think about anything. Nope. She gets fed. She doesn't have to worry about anything at all. Like, she just gets fed, love, attention, toys, spoiled. I take her on a walk, actually. I just got a brand new backpack for $15 off of Facebook Marketplace. Best place to buy things.
It is.
Yeah. And
Holy
I put her
man.
in it and take her on a walk. I just got this 2 days ago and I started taking her on walks.
Mm-hmm. Hey, there's another thing about shopping. Like they have like Facebook Marketplace is a great example, right? You can buy something that's almost brand new or whatever that fits your need, and you could just find the best deal, right? For it, and again, I'm going to go back to the day. Like if you wanted a specific thing, you're going to pay full price unless you go to like a garage sale. Right? There used to be a lot of garage sales back then. That would be a fun thing to do, actually. Like, my brother and I, we would just ride our bikes and we'd go around the neighborhood, and we'd always, try to find a garage sale, because they would just, they would find whatever they don't need in their house and they would sell it for like a pretty good price, right? But you won't see as many garage sales now because, you have places like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace where people just, list it online, and then you just go up and you meet them or go to their place and you just purchase it there, right? So there's a lot of good things that you can do. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. There's
no
delay in the audio right now.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, but I would say jobs too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, how was it like finding a job before Indeed and like LinkedIn and all of these?
You're gonna have to look at the classified ads in the newspaper, or if you get yourself a degree, you just like we still do that, and like if you have a degree, but you wouldn't be able to go online and send it off, and there was no emails or anything like that, so you would either write up a letter and mail it, or make a phone call, or but there's a lot more opportunities now, and for you, more options, than back in the day.
Well,
right?
I feel like there are pros and cons to that. I think it's great that there are more options, but I also wish that I see how it was like back then, and I feel like maybe it was easier to get a job.
It could have been.
My dad mentioned like he used to use like the books that you would mention for like getting jobs, and I mean, I feel like it was definitely easier simply because there wasn't so many applicants, and I feel like now there's a bunch of applicants that they need to have like a certain template of like everything being checked off to qualify. But back then I feel like maybe it was a little bit more flexible because they were more flexible with employment, because they would see that possibly, I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this, but I feel like there was just maybe more opportunity for being hired, because the HR, they probably feel overwhelmed now, because when I was working at my previous job, HR seemed a bit overwhelmed. There's a lot of high stakes that they have to do, like a lot of phone calls for interviews, a lot more setting up for
Hmm.
things, with technology, like setting up interviews, setting up like dates for people to come in. And do you know what I mean? I don't know if you
Yeah.
know what
No, no, no. I get it.
but yeah, I don't know what it was like because I wasn't in that time period,
Hmm.
but I imagine that they were a little less overwhelmed with the amount of applicants that they were receiving for like jobs. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
And now it's just, yeah, there's that much more competition now, right? Because you
exactly.
may even get people from out of the city saying that, they can just say, I am moving there. I would like to have an opportunity to work at your company or whatever. Or not even that. They can actually work from a different country and
Mhm.
send their stuff. You know what I mean? Like you can work from other countries. You just send it through the internet, right?
Yeah, and
Instead of
now
you have to physically actually be at the office. So now, that opens another door where you have to compete with other people around the world and not just, where you live.
exactly, and also there's less face to face, so you really have to go based on like the qualifications and like application, like their requirements for the applications, because you don't know who the person is. Like you can't
Hmm.
see them face to
Face
face.
to face.
You really have to make a judgment based off of like technology,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So I feel
There's
like it
pros and
must
cons.
be,
There's always a pros and cons. But yeah,
yeah.
the
So
world has changed dramatically, and it's changing right now, very fast. Like 10 days from now, how many new inventions are there going to be? A lot. Every single day, like I was saying earlier, when you were looking for your DSI, I was like,
mhm,
every day there's a new invention. Every second there's a new invention being created, right?
pretty.
So if you think technology is crazy now, imagine what it's going to be like next year or in 5 years from now. We were talking about robots, self-driving car. They had that already, but you'll see more of it, you know, like robots walking dogs and robots, driving your kids to school. What?
I feel a little uncomfortable about that. I feel like I told you that because it's
Mm-hmm.
just like I feel like you should have more bonding time with your kids, but if you have a busy schedule, it could be convenient. But
Yeah.
also, I feel like if I had kids, I wouldn't trust a robot to walk my kids to school or something. I feel like it's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
different.
It reminds me of that movie with Robin Williams. I forgot what it was called, but he was like this robot nanny, right? And then because he can't die, so he was a nanny for like through two generations. So he would see like all the family members like when they get old they would pass. So he wanted to somehow figure a way how to become more human, right? So that he could like pass when they pass, right? I forgot what it's called. You know what? I'm gonna check. Something
I don't know.
Man. You never heard of it? You need to watch that movie. I mean, it's still like I bet you people are watching this and say, "Oh, I know that movie. I know that movie." Robin Williams robot movie. Bicentennial Man.
Never.
Bicentennial Man. Yeah, it's a 1999 film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you maybe they have it on Netflix, I don't know. But it actually was a really good movie, and this was done 25 years ago, right? So, you know, and that I can see that it's definitely gonna be a part of our reality. A lot of the things we've seen in the movies, like that sci-fi stuff, it's like, oh my gosh, it's all coming true.
I feel like we're
Flying
gonna have
cars and all that.
yeah. I feel like we might have more understanding of like life with technology because um maybe they'll start to use like robots for like experiments or like to like learn more about ourselves. We could use
Hmm.
robots this way possibly. I think that would be pretty cool.
We'll
Like
probably see them on the moon or Mars or whatever to do
building.
tests and do building. Yeah, building structures or that's what I mean. You can look
I
at
think
it
I've
that
always
way.
seen that. Not like on the moon, but like on here on Earth. Like I feel like they do have some robots doing some difficult things already.
Yeah.
Like, take
Yeah,
longer.
that's dangerous for human beings, right?
Hmm.
So
Not necessarily dangerous, but jobs could definitely be like taken away with that. So,
hmm
but
well, they
hopefully
don't
we
have to take breaks. They don't have to. You don't have to feed them. They can work 24/7, right?
get paid. They don't even have
They
to.
don't get even paid. They just buy the unit and repairs if they need it. But right. So if you were looking as, just say you were a CEO of a company and you were just like, well, if I can get 100 robots and this would cost me this much more less to get them done and they're more efficient, they'll listen to everything that we tell them. I won't get any complaints or whatever. And then, would you do it if you were the CEO of a company? Probably, right?
Well, I would say, well, I mean, yeah, definitely, because you could definitely save yourself more money. But for me, it's easy for me, like, to see the aspect of, like, people needing jobs.
Jobs,
But there may be
and they
somebody
need
who's,
to
yeah, go on, and they need to support themselves, right?
like yeah, like if you were like, well, I created this company because I wanted to help people and I wanted those people to help their families, right? There are people like that, right? Like
Yeah,
I think I would be someone like that, like you, like just like I wouldn't rely my whole company on using robots because I care about the people that work for me, right? But then I can't really say that because I'm not in that position. Because if you had a multi-million-dollar company, you were the CEO of a company, and then you had all these investors that was a part of your company, then you wouldn't be the only one making that decision, right? So you would have all
right.
these other partners or whatever. So it gets complicated. But if you had a smaller business and you had that choice, right, then yeah, I would be like you. I would be like, I would like to have contact with humans. My journey is to be connected with human beings, right?
Well, I feel like it's easy
And
for us to connect with people on that level, but sorry to interrupt, but I feel that maybe people in this generation may like view it a little bit less important because you grew up with
you're cutting
technology.
out a little bit, but I think it's just a
Oh,
small lag.
oh,
That face.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I no, I can't hear you, but don't cut off. Don't cut off. Wait. Oh wait, it's back.
Is it? Is it? Hello? Oh
Wait.
gosh, it's such a bad
Oh, it's
delay.
like
Oh gosh, it's such a bad delay. It's such a
I
bad
think
delay.
I
Maybe it'll help
oh
if I
my
get rid of the
gosh.
camera.
You know what?
Maybe it'll help if I get rid of the camera.
What?
Hang on, let me
Oh,
get rid of
okay.
the camera for
I
a
think
moment.
she's resetting her camera. Yeah.
Is it better?
Okay, turn it back on.
Wait, give me like a minute or two. I'm gonna refresh it and see if that helps.
Okay.
Is it
Hello?
better?
The sound just wait for it to catch up. The sound's just a little off.
Okay.
Oh, I think
Kinda
it's
like
back.
twiddling my fingers here, waiting, sipping my
No, it's
chai.
coming back. It's coming back. But yeah, what I wanted to say was also that Natalie and I were talking about doing a podcast like over 6 months ago, I think, right? And then I approached her about the idea of doing our own show. I think I mentioned that earlier on this podcast. But we took the opportunity today to do this podcast on the Roger Lee podcast. But I think we are, if Natalie still wants to do it, and I hope she does, that we're gonna do the the Roger Lee and Natalie Fischer show. And we're gonna have our own title, obviously, but we have that vision. So if you enjoyed today's podcast, please look forward to our own show. And this is just one topic about life that we talked about, and there is just so many more things to talk about. And hopefully those videos will help people. Because what I do is my one mission is to try to help as many people as I possibly can. And with these podcasts, with this new podcast, this new series I'm going to be doing with Natalie, can help others, and I know when I first met Natalie, I knew she had that kind of energy. I don't know. I felt the same way, even though, oh, by the way, we both have the same birthday, November 11th.
Yeah, 11, 11. I was just about to
11/11.
say that.
Yeah, 11/11. So there was already that connection. So I was like, I need to do a podcast with Natalie where we sit there and we talk about life, and try to help as many people as we possibly can.
So that would be a great thing to do, and I feel like we would definitely have a lot of fun, whether it's like on your podcast or whether we come up with a day for our podcast.
Yeah,
So
totally. So I guess
I can't wait.
I can't wait either.
Some topics, like whether on your podcast or when we create ours, we would have a lot of fun, I'm sure. And like you even told me this one was going to be fun, and I was like, I'm a little nervous about this, but it turned out.
And I already told her that she's not nervous. I saw her. I was like, she's ready. She's ready to go. But this is how she was when I first met her on YouTube. Because I was like, does anybody want to come, on the YouTube channel? Because I can invite people. And then Natalie was just like, I'll come. And then all of a sudden she's like, I'm here. But you were scared the first time you came on, right? Like,
right.
You were like, you didn't know what to expect.
I was a bit nervous. I mean, I have done broadcasting when I was like 14, because there used to be a thing called like Periscope, and like Periscope was a great app to use, but then they took it down. But I have experience with that, and I just remember going from like 0 followers to like 4,000. I was like, whoa, it's crazy how many people like you can connect with, like making like live streams and all that. It's pretty cool. But the reason why I really hopped on was because I was going through a lot, and I'm still am right now. This year's kind of a hard year for me, but I'm really dealing with all those challenges as best as possible. But I remember in the beginning, I was a bit nervous, and I had a lot of things going on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love his quotes. I should just pop on for a moment and show my quote that's right above over there. And honestly, it was a great experience. Even if I was on for like 10 minutes, it was still great. And I kept on going back on, and then I remember I was on your live stream a second time for like a little bit, and then I just hopped on when
twice.
I could. So it was great.
Yeah, it was twice, right? It was twice you were on my YouTube live, right? Yeah.
Yes, I believe it was twice, because I remember the first time, and then I even hopped on your second broadcast too. Do you remember that? Or
Yeah, I do remember it.
Yeah.
I do remember it. And now, she's here. And now now we're really looking forward into our new show. So if you enjoyed this video, our podcast for today, please like the video. I hope, the stuff that we talked about was very, very interesting, because, it's always fun to talk about technology in life, because it affects us so much, right? And it will continue to do so, because the more technology grows, we grow with it, right? So, yeah. So I just wanted to thank you, Natalie, for coming here today and making today's podcast a reality. And it's so nice to see, because we talked about it for so long, and it was just like, oh, I wonder when we're going to do it. But we finally did it, right? We did it. So I really look forward to doing our next podcast, which hopefully will be soon. We're going to come up with probably a whole list of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, right? We could. But I also feel like I remember we mentioned like getting some people's like opinions on what they want to talk about too.
I will definitely post that on my Facebook page, and I'll ask what people want to talk about, and then that way we'll get an idea of what they would, the type of topic that they would like to listen to, right? So we're definitely going to do that.
Yeah, we can have a vote between like two topics and like choose which one is the one that
I mean, I have, I actually just started my new broadcast channel on Facebook called Hopeless Hearts.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Hopeless Hearts. I can't believe I just said that. Hopeful Hearts, and I can do a poll there, and I can get to see what people would like to see. So I'll do that as well. But so thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Natalie, for making this a reality again. And I will catch you on the next Roger Lee podcast.
It was great to be here. Thank you for letting me have this first time experience on
You're very welcome.
a podcast. It was great.
Yes, a podcast. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Take care and remember your mind matters. Bye.